Please don't forget to turn your cameras on. We're going to start working on the reading section, and this entire week we're going to be working on the reading. Okay? Now, first of all, the reading section, both the reading and the listening section are multiple choice, which means that you will read something in the reading, you will read certain texts, certain passages, and then answer questions about those passages. And all of the questions are the same. Get the question, you get 4 options from A to D, and you gotta choose the right one. Same thing goes for the listening. Okay, so reading and listening are very similar in those terms. Okay, let me see. Right. Now, how does the reading section work? You know, you get the passage, you get a short text. This text is not that long. It's usually like 700 words, around 5, 4, 6 paragraphs. And these are always academic texts that you get. There's always going to be academic content in that, which means that you're going to be reading about science, you're going to be reading about history, about sociology, literature, and so forth. You get a text, and you're going to have 3 or 4 of them. Okay? Now, why am I saying 3 or 4? The thing is, you have the reading and you have the listening. You will always have an extra task. You always have an extra task. And this one can go in the reading or in the listening. And it's different every time. Okay? This extra task is not even scored. So it's not going to be evaluated. Whatever you do in that extra task won't be evaluated, won't matter. But of course, you don't know which one that is. So you just have to answer everything. Okay? So you have 3 or 4 passages. And every single passage that you read, every single text that you have will contain 10 questions about the passage. Always 10 questions, which means that at the end of the day, you will be having 30 to 40 questions in the reading section. Okay? Is this clear? Do you have any questions so far? Okay, guys. Now, one thing that is really important for me to say is that you don't have a separate timer per passage. So you are the ones responsible for organizing your time here. They're not going to tell you, okay, stop. You have spent enough time in the first passage. Please move on to the next one. They won't do that. They will give you the time for the entire reading section. That means the 3 or the 4 passages that you get. And it's completely up to you how you organize your time. Now, how much time will you have? If you have 3 passages, you will have 54 minutes for the 3 passages. And if you have 4, then you will get 76 minutes. If you do the math, that means that you're going to be having 18 minutes per passage. You can never go over those 18 minutes because then you'll run out of time and you just have to guess the final passage or the final questions. It's better if you spend even less than 18 minutes. If you spend 16 minutes, it's ideal. So that at the end, you're not rushed and you can even review if you'd like to. Okay? But it's completely up to you how you organize. You are the ones that need to be checking your time constantly and making sure that you're not going over the 18 minutes per passage. Is that okay so far? Any questions about that structure? Yes. Now, the best thing we can do here, first, like some tips that I can give you, and I think we were saying this yesterday with some of you guys. The best way to improve the reading section is by reading, by practice, and by learning vocabulary. So you need to work on 2 things here. 3 things. One is reading comprehension, which is improved just by reading. So you need to read and read and read as much as you can, and read about complex topics. Don't be reading like letters to a friend or casual entrance or diary entrances, things like that. You need to read about scientific articles, about literary articles. You need to read maybe heavy literature. That's the only way that you're going to improve your reading comprehension. Second thing, you need to improve vocabulary. And in order to do that, again, you need to read or you need to listen to videos or music or movies. But you need to For the reading section, read as much as you can. And when you find words that you don't know, you're going to highlight them and you're going to try to first understand the meaning of the word with context and then check what you did, check if what you said is correct. That is the best approach for vocabulary. And third thing you need to do is, of course, practice a lot so that you can manage your time properly. Because remember, time is really short in the reading section. Most students run out of time. It is usually the biggest problem here. So you need to practice how fast you answer the questions. Okay, guys? Do you guys have any questions about any of that? Is it clear? All right. Now, the best thing we're going to do, of course, that we cannot do that, any of what we said, we cannot really do it here. You need to do it on your own because we don't have that much time. So you're going to have to learn vocabulary. You're going to have to practice on your own as well. But what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at the types of questions that you get in the reading, and we're going to see different strategies to answer those questions. Okay? That's what we're going to do. We're going to see the types of questions you get in the reading section and strategies to answer. First of all, you have 10 different types of questions. These are the ones. You have vocabulary, you have detail, you have except type of question, inference, function, and so on. All of them are important, but I'm not gonna lie if I tell you that they matter them like the same. Why? Because they have different frequencies. Do you guys know what frequency is? What does this mean, frequency of something?
Something that usually happens.
Exactly. Yes. So frequency is how often something happens, right? How many times it happens a day, it happens a month, it happens in a specific period of time or in a specific measure. So how many times something is repeated, basically, right? So these are the frequency of the questions, of each type of question. So as you can see on this chart, some questions are more frequent than others. For example, vocabulary in detailed questions are the most frequent ones. You're gonna have more vocabulary questions than you do except or inference or function. You can have from 2 to 5 vocabulary questions, for example, in one passage. Do you remember how many questions we had per passage?
10.
Okay. So even if you have 3 vocabulary questions out of 10, that's like almost 33%. That's like almost 1/3 of the entire passage. So it is a lot. That's why you need to, and vocabulary, honestly, the main thing is about vocabulary. Of course, there are some strategies we're gonna cover, but the main thing to answer vocabulary questions is obviously knowing vocabulary. Now, the 2 questions have good strategies. We're gonna see them. And they are also really frequent, as you can see here. The other ones, except inference and so on, until insert text, all of these, even though they're not so frequent, we're still gonna cover them. And believe me, you're gonna have at least one per passage. Okay, so you usually have one except, one inference, one function, one paraphrase, one reference, one insert text. Okay, so you're gonna see all of these at least once. And summary or category, you always have this question, and it's always the last question. I'm not gonna lie again, and I'm not gonna tell you that it's not important because you don't have many of them. Because the thing is that even though you only have one of these questions, it's worth a little bit more. These questions are worth, let's say, 1 raw point. In summary or category questions are worth 2 or 3 raw points. So they are a little bit heavier, they weigh more than the other ones. Okay? That's just some like an overview of all of the types of questions in terms of their frequency and how important they are. Is this clear so far? Do you have any questions about that? Okay, guys. So we're gonna start right off looking at the types of questions, but we're gonna do so by looking at an example. So I'm gonna go here. This is a sample set from the ETS itself. It's official from the ETS. And we're gonna be using this because it's really close to what you will have in the actual text. You know, these are like, there's a reason why this is something official and why it's good to practice with official settings. Because they make it very similar to the real text. If not, they are actually passable tests. So it's really good to practice with official material, at least once. Okay. Now, another thing, in the reading section, before you start answering the questions, you will get the text. You will get all of it at once. Now, they won't give you a time for that. You can, if you want, you can spend like 15 minutes reading the text. Of course, that's not convenient for you because you only have 18 minutes per passage. So what should you guys do? You need to find a balance between not wasting too much time and also understanding. Because if you go to one side and you read everything carefully, you're going to understand everything. I mean, you're going to get all of the ideas here, but you're going to be wasting a lot of time and you won't have that much time to answer the questions. If you go to the other side and you don't read anything and you go directly to the questions, then you're going to be a bit lost when you're answering them. So you need to find a balance between the two. And what we're going to do is we're not going to read everything carefully. We're going to forget about all of the details that you can find here. And we're just going to quickly, at most in 3 minutes, scan this paragraph. When I say scan this passage, what you guys are going to do is read the title. That'll give you a good idea of what it's about. And read the first sentences, not carefully, but like scanning the first sentences of each paragraph. So you're going to read like the first part of this paragraph, the first sentences of this, the first part of this. Why the first parts? Because usually it's in the first sentences where they tell you what the paragraph is about. So by reading the first sentences, you should already have an idea of what the entire paragraph will be about. And if you don't have that idea, if you're reading the first sentences and you still don't know what it's about, then you can go farther. You can scan a little bit more. You can maybe go to the last sentence. You need to work like that. Your focus should be on having like a broad idea of what each paragraph is about. And obviously what the entire text is about, but it shouldn't take you more than 3 minutes. You're not going to read carefully. You're just going to scan the passage, guys. And that is what we're going to do now. First thing, let's read the title. It says The Rise of Teotihuacan. What do you guys think this is going to be about?
History.
History. Great. Good guess. Probably history. This is probably Mexican culture. I don't know. What does the word rise means?
Like an origin, or like a sort of material, maybe.
Okay. You sure? Any other opinions? Rise, what does it mean? I think it goes more to the side of like the growth of the Teotihuacan or the development of the Teotihuacan. It's like how something grows, how something rise, like how something develops and turns to be a really good thing, you know? So that's kind of the vibe that I get. But let's see. We're going to start reading the first lines of each paragraph and basically try to understand the main ideas of each paragraph. I'm going to give you a few seconds. Please scan these 2 paragraphs and you're going to let me know what the main ideas of each one are. Okay, guys? A few seconds. Guys, so I hope you haven't read everything. Can you guys tell me what the first paragraph is about? Or what is its purpose? Why is it there?
Um, eh, they talk about the different places that there used to be there in Teotihuacan, also the historic context, and also the urban planning of the city. And they also mention the religious contact with more parts of Mesoamerica.
Okay. Okay, good. Thanks, Harry. So that's right. I think this could be
Okay,
like a
please.
okay, great. I think this could be like an introduction, right? And as Harry said, they pretty much give context, like where it's located or where it was located in the past. Context about what it is. We already know that it's a city, their population, and basically a bit of everything. You know, it was according like just like by looking at it, we see words like market, industrial, religious. So they're probably talking a bit about everything. Sort of like an introduction. What about the second paragraph? What is it about?
It's about uh, why
In
that
this paragraph, they talk more about why it used to be important, that place in that age, that era, and what kind of natural disasters used to happen there.
Okay, thanks, Harry. Yes. If
The
you wanna,
relevance, I'm sorry, the relevance of the market, traders with so many products.
okay, all right, great, Harry, thanks. Anything you guys want to add? Okay, so yeah, right. I think that it comes down to the first sentence. It says, how did this tremendous development take place? And then they say, among the main factors are, so it's basically about the factors that led to this development, right? We have different factors here listed. It's like a list of things. And all of those are the factors that led to the development of the place. Now let's do the same, please, for the third and fourth paragraphs. I'm gonna give you guys a few seconds. Guys. So what is the third one about? I mean, it focuses on volcanic eruptions, right? It says this last factor, and that last factor, if you remember, was volcanic eruptions. So it focuses on that, volcanic eruptions and how they helped the Teotihuacan's rise. What about the fourth paragraph? Just read the first sentences. It says, it seems likely that Teotihuacan's natural resources, along with the city's ability to recognize their potential, gave the city a competitive edge. So it's probably about natural resources, right? And how this gave the city an advantage over its neighbors. And then they obviously give the details, right? I think the natural resources they had was obsidian. They talk about everything related to that. But the main idea is natural resources. Now, please take a look to, take a moment to read the 5th and 6th paragraphs. Okay, guys, so what are those about? Evelyn, what is the 5th one about?
The five paragraph
Mhm.
is about the obsidian.
Okay, yeah. It's about obsidian. It's about trade as well. And basically, it's about their prosperous life, their prosperity. And finally, the last one, paragraph 6.
Is about the mining and working.
You sure it's only about mining and working?
Maybe population and religions.
Okay, right. So the last one is a little bit about everything, right? How the relationship between all of those factors, which is natural resources, volcanic eruptions, population growth, trade, so forth, how everything connected with each other. So it's like a summary of everything. Maybe the conclusion, we could say. And we have this clarification that says obsidian is a type of volcanic glass-like rock used for manufacturing tools and ceremonial objects. Okay, that's what obsidian is, if you're wondering. So that's what you guys should do, all right? Please don't ever read word by word because you're gonna run out of time at the end of the day. And don't skip reading either because, well, you're gonna be lost when you're answering your questions. You need to have an idea of at least what the passage is about, and maybe it would be good to have an idea of what each paragraph is about as well. Okay, guys? Any questions about that process? Okay, guys. So we're gonna start taking a look at detailed questions. Okay. We're gonna take a look at detail, or they are also called factual questions. Okay, we're gonna see how these are, how to answer. Detailed questions are basically those that are going to ask you about specific details in the paragraph. The good thing about these questions is that they are really straightforward. They won't ever ask you about something that is difficult to find. It's something that is directly there. You know, it's sometimes a little bit obvious even. Okay? It's information that is directly there in your paragraph. Remember that it's a high frequency question. You get them very often. And we're gonna see how to approach these questions. Okay? What we're gonna do is answer question number, we're gonna answer.
Um, teacher, I, I, we cannot hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay, sorry. Ricardo, tell me.
Nothing, teacher.
Okay, probably wasn't same. So we're gonna be answering question number 5, which is the detailed question in the paragraph. Okay, it's here. It's which of the following allowed. So we're gonna be answering that. But I'm gonna use my slides, my presentation, because we have the paragraph and the question in once. So maybe we can have Valentina, could you please read the question? The question and the options, please.
Okay. Which of the following allowed Teotihuacan to have a competitive edge over its neighbors? A, oil exploited and really available commodity. B, the presence of a highly stable elite class. C, knowledge the directly from the Olmecs about the art of tool making, and D, scarce natural resources in nearby areas such as those located in what are now the Guatemalan and Mexican highlands.
Okay, guys. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna give you all 2 minutes to try to find so that you can try to find the answer. Okay, just read the paragraph. Let me know what you think, and then we'll discuss how to actually approach this question. Okay, we'll make a discussion here. So please have 2 minutes to answer the question. Okay, guys. So what do you think the right option is?
D.
I think it's A.
Okay, so Henry says A. Anyone else? All right, no, Henry says D, right? Okay. Who said A then?
I did.
Oh, okay. Ricardo says A. Come on, what are all the rest?
D.
D2, okay. You have two people for D. Maybe, Mateo, what would you say?
D.
D as well. Okay, so I think people are tending towards option D. Okay, now this is a strategy that you have to use when you have detailed questions. First of all, how do you know that it's a detailed question? Well, as we were saying before, they are going to ask you about a specific detail. Now, one of the key ways in which you can identify these questions is because they start with things like which, why, how, when, where, what, you know, those like open questions. Those are usually the way, that's usually the way that they start. Now, what, in this case, basically, this one basically says, what, can you guys hear me? I think you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry. So in this question, basically what they're saying is what allowed Teotihuacan to have a competitive edge, right? They're asking for a specific thing. They are not telling you something like, what can you infer about this? Or what is implied about that? Or which one is not mentioned, right? Those are other types of questions. They are directly asking you about something. What allowed Teotihuacan to have a competitive edge? Now, the things that you have to do. The first step is to read the question, obviously, but please, I'm going to ask you, when you read the question, do not read the options. Read the question and identify the keywords. Okay? So you're going to read the question, but you won't, please don't read the options. Why? Because when you read the options, your brain tends to already choose one, even if you haven't read the paragraph yet. It's just the way our brain works, you know. If especially if you read initially, then you're gonna be likely to incline towards one option, and then when you read, your brain is gonna be looking for clues to kind of prove your theory that it's that option. That's how our brain works. Okay, we tend to think something, and then we're looking for clues to prove our theories. So please don't read the options, just read the question. So read the question and identify the keywords. Now, what do I mean by keywords? Keywords are going to be words from the paragraph, words about the paragraph that you feel are important. In this case, they are saying what or which of the following allowed the Teotihuacan to have a competitive edge over its neighbors. What would you say the keywords are?
The keyword will be competitive edge over its neighborhoods
Great.
because it's the same in the paragraph.
Perfect. It's even a quotation in this one, right? A competitive edge over its neighbors. So those are the keywords. Those are what they're asking about, right? What allowed Teotihuacan to have a competitive edge over its neighbors? Now, once you identify those keywords, you're going to look for them in the paragraph. Now, you need to understand something. It's not always going to be a quotation. You know, like here, you have like a direct quotation. Sometimes you have synonyms. What happens if they don't have a quotation? And you have something like, which of the following allowed the Teotihuacan to have an advantage over surrounding cities, right? you can have these. You don't necessarily have to have, say, the same words, but they are still going to be keywords. And what you need to do is look for those keywords in the paragraph or look for their synonyms. So for example, competitive edge is like an advantage. Surrounding cities are neighbors. So you're not finding the same words, but you're finding their synonyms, okay? So that is what you need to do. Identify the keywords and find those keywords or their synonyms in the paragraph. Now, I'm gonna give you one very important tip, and this is what most students, the mistake that most students make. Once you have found those keywords and you are 100% sure that those are the ones, that's what they're asking about, they're asking about a competitive edge over its neighbors, then I guarantee that like 90% or above of the time, the answer is gonna be really close to the keywords. You remember I told you this is a detailed question? So they are never gonna ask you for a summary. You don't necessarily have to read the entire paragraph. And I think that's the mistake that most students make. They read everything and they try to come up with like a summary of the paragraph. They start getting different ideas throughout the paragraph and you lose the focus because they're not asking you about the entire paragraph. They're asking you specifically what gave or what allowed this Teotihuacan to have a competitive edge. So what you need to do is once you have identified the keywords, read the sentence before, the sentence after, and the sentence that contains the keywords. We're gonna read, it says, it seems likely that Teotihuacan's natural resources, along with the city elite's ability to recognize their potential, gave the city a competitive edge over its neighbors. Now you know that the question is asking you what allowed Teotihuacan or the city to have a competitive edge. Do you guys think it's the same? Do you think that giving the city a competitive edge, is it similar enough to allowing the city to have a competitive edge? Can we say those are synonyms? That's what they're asking about? Yes, right? Do you agree with me?
Yes, teacher, is the same.
Okay, good. So basically they're asking for what gave the city a competitive edge. Now, when they ask you that, and you have something that says, this gave the city a competitive edge, they're asking for the subject of the sentence, right? This is the object. It gave the city the object, but they're asking for the subject. This thing gave the city a competitive edge. What gave the city a competitive edge? That thing, right? So we just need to look at the subject of the sentence. And we're gonna read what comes before. And it says, it seems likely that, like it is very probable that Teotihuacan's natural resources, along with, that basically means and, right? And the city elite's ability to recognize their potential gave the city a competitive edge over its neighbors. So what gave the city a competitive edge over its neighbors? Their natural resources and the city elite's ability to recognize their potential. That is the direct answer to the question, right? If you had that option, if you had option E, natural resources along with the city elites, blah, 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 then of course you would have to choose that option, right? But do we have that option? We don't, right? We don't have the exact same words. What do we do? Now that we have found the answer, we need to read the options. Now that we know already the answer, we know that what gave the city a competitive edge was natural resources and the city elite's ability to recognize the potential. So now that we know the answer, now we can read the options. So we're gonna read from A to D, and we're gonna look for the closest one to what we already found. You know, you're not gonna find the same words because it would be too easy. So you could, you know, sometimes they take it easy on you, they give you the same words, but in this case we don't. So let's find a synonym or a paraphrase of that. Let's look at option D. It says, scarce natural resources in nearby areas such as those located in what are now the Guatemalan and Mexican highlands. Do you think that we have the answer there? I mean, we are talking about natural resources, great. That is one thing that gave the city a competitive edge, good. We have almost the answer, right? Now what we have to do is check, is it really correct? First thing that I'm noticing is that we're missing one more thing, because it wasn't just the natural resources they had. It was also the ability to recognize their potential. But let's just leave it there for a moment. Besides the fact that we're missing this second thing, in order for this to be the answer, not only should it contain the answer, but it should be correct, right? It has to be the answer and it has to make sense. I mean, everything that is said here has to make sense. So first of all, were those natural resources scarce? Yes. Where in the paragraph do we have that? Were they really scarce?
No, teacher, the opposite.
Exactly. They weren't actually scarce. They say the valley, like many other places in Mexico, in Guatemala and Highlands, was rich in obsidian, right? So obsidian were the main natural resources they had, and they were rich in those resources. They weren't scarce. So even if it contains what we have already identified, first of all, we notice that it's missing the second part. The answer, the complete answer would be natural resources and the ability to recognize their potential. It has natural resources, but it is not correct, right? Because they weren't scarce. We would also have to check, let's say that they were scarce, we would have to check that this is true as well, right? We cannot just choose one because it has something. So do you guys think that D would be the answer then? Yes or no?
No.
No, right? So we're eliminating D. Let's go to A, which was another option you guys suggested. Now it says, what gave Teotihuacan a competitive edge was a well-exploited and readily available commodity. Okay, I know it looks, I mean, it sounds a little bit hard to understand. So what does this mean? A well-exploited, so something that was well exploited, that was exploited, that was used in the correct way, and that was readily available, you know? Do you guys know what is commodity? What does this mean?
Well, living.
Okay, it's not, I mean, one word, in English, I mean, in all languages, we have what we call like fake friends, right? Like commodity sounds a lot like comodidad in Spanish, but is it?
Is like product, like something.
Yeah, it's like goods, right? A commodity, the commodity that somebody has is like the goods, the things that we possess, the things that we own. In terms like, in the context of business, it's like products. But in general, commodity is the things that we have, like the goods that we own. It's not necessarily, it's not actually commodidad, okay, although it looks like. And like this is like a parenthesis. I've seen personally that many times you have this in a TOEFL test. It's like, I don't know if it's like, I don't want to say like a trap, but it looks like it, right? Because it's a word that you would think that it means comodidad in Spanish, but it's not. So I've seen this a lot. If you're not totally sure, then don't assume. So commodity is basically a synonym of the word resources. Okay? Is that okay? If you go online, if you check online, then commodity is basically a synonym for the word resources. Now, what does readily available mean? What does readily available mean?
easy to get.
Exactly, yes. Readily available means something that is already there, you know, that it's easy to get, that it's available. By the time that you got there, it was ready already. So what do you think that refers to? Do you think that something that's natural is readily available? Yes, right? When they say readily available, they are referring to the fact that these resources wasn't something that they created. These goods, what obsidian wasn't something that they created, that they produced, right? It's something that was ready available to use the moment they established in the valley, you know? So it was natural. Those are their natural resources. Readily available commodities, basically natural resources. And well exploited, what do you guys think that means? That kind of goes with the second part of our answer, right? Because they say the natural resources, which is the readily available commodity, and the city elite's ability to recognize their potential. So it isn't enough that you just have the obsidian, you have to be able to exploit the resources you have. So not only was it the natural resources they have, but the ability to exploit them, right? To recognize their potential and exploit. So this goes with the second part, right? This was the first element, natural resources, together with the ability to exploit them or recognize their potential. You know? So option A would be the correct one. Option B and C, although option B is like sort of tempting because it talks about the elite class, we don't know anything about whether they were highly stable or not, right? And what happens with the natural resources here? And option C is totally out of context. Is this okay, guys? Do you have any questions about the process of getting to the answer? Remember, read the question, don't read the options, identify the keywords, look for them in the paragraph or their synonyms, find the answer, and then read the options and find a paraphrase of the answer. And make sure that what you're choosing has everything correct. No? Do you have any questions about that? Is it clear? Okay, guys. So now you guys are gonna do one. Remember, this was question number 5, right? It's this one here. So the right answer was A. Now we're gonna do question number 6, okay? We're gonna do question 6, which is also a detailed question. And you guys are gonna do it. I'm gonna give you guys 1.5 minutes so that you can read the question, don't read the options, look for the answer and find the right option. Please go ahead. All right, guys. So what is the correct choice? I think it's not here, right? Or is it? Yes, I think it's here. So what is it? Which would be the right option?
I think it's D.
A. Does everyone agree? That's right. Yeah, good job. Well done. So this one was easier because we didn't have such like fancy words to understand. In this case, they say, what has recent research on obsidian tools found at Olmec sites? So we look for those keywords. We have recent research on obsidian tools found at Olmec sites has shown that directly to the answer, some of the obsidian obtained by the Olmecs originated near Teotihuacan. Now we read the options and we just gotta find the one that says the same, probably in different words. Some obsidian, the obsidian used by the Olmecs, in this case we have obtained by the Olmecs, came from, originated, the area around, near, right? Those are just synonyms, the area around, near Teotihuacan. So it is D. Is this okay, you guys? Do you have any questions, any comments before we go? No? Guys, then please, before you leave, don't forget to fill out today's survey. And I'll be seeing you tomorrow, where we'll continue practice. Okay, guys, thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Have a good night.
Good night, teacher.
Bye, teacher.
Thank you,
See you
teacher. Good
tomorrow.
night.
Teacher.
Bye, teacher. See you tomorrow.
Bye bye.